Hey besties, Monica Ferguson here and welcome to World Domination. This is a safe space for absolute legends who are bold enough and brave enough to go within, to recreate their belief system, to aim high, to chase their wildest dreams and become everything that they are destined to be. This is a space for people who are serious about growth, about healing. We talk about all things mind, body, spirit, and we have the courage to go further than most people even dare to dream. Welcome, let's get into it. Hello, beautiful people. Monica Ferguson here. Welcome to this week's episode of World Domination. And I feel really called this week to go back to basics. This is where everything started for me, where I was working full-time as a photographer, and I really started to understand the impact of beautiful photographs on people in terms of their self-worth, in terms of their self-esteem, their confidence, how you could really help someone shift their own perspective of themselves and feel beautiful and feel good enough. And being in such an intimate space with people, right, they start to reveal every fear, every insecurity, every belief within them that says, I'm not good enough as I am. Right? And I was starting to see this theme and this pattern emerge in every single person, man, woman, child, every person. And I was like, this is not good. This is a real problem that we have here. And this is actually what inspired so much of the work that I've done since, like starting this podcast, starting the radio show, training up in coaching and all the different modalities that I've studied in, because I wanted to help people go deep and shift this feeling of being unworthy, which is literally programmed into us from day dot, right? Now think about this, you guys, like, here we go, we're already getting into the talk of the subconscious mind, and I'm a minute and a half in. But that's because this is important, all right? So subconscious mind is 95% of our mind, and it's outside of our out of our conscious awareness, right? So it's automatic. It's just running in the background. It's literally a program that's just running in the background. And our subconscious mind, our programming as such, is actually created from the ages of 0 to 7. Right? Now, of course, we can change that as we go, but our baseline belief system is created from 0 to 7, which means that our primary caregivers really have the biggest impact, right? Because they teach us how to view the world. They teach us how to view ourselves, how we listen to what they say about themselves and what they say about other people, how they speak about money, how they speak about their bodies, how they speak about relationships. And we, being little sponges, absorb it all and create a belief system based on what they've taught us, right? Which is, good if they taught us good things. But if they didn't, then we need to understand how do we then shift things so that we can actually create a life that is working for us, right? With beliefs that actually impact us in a positive way, because of course our beliefs impact our entire life. And because 95% of those beliefs are outside of our conscious awareness, we need to get really intentional about the patterns and the things that we're seeing in our life and asking ourselves, is this what I actually want, right? Now, here's the thing with self-worth, right? And the reason that I bring up the subconscious mind is because we're taught from day dot, for most of us, that what we are is not good enough. Who we are is not good enough. We are not worthy. We're compared to a sibling. Or we just take on the beliefs of our parents who did not believe that they were worthy. And so unconsciously, we took on that belief of like, oh, I have to hate myself. I have to criticize myself. And then, especially the millennials, like we survived. I mean, celebrity pop culture was just insane. I mean, every now and then someone will pull out an old Dolly magazine or something, and it's horrifying to see the stuff that we were being taught and the way that celebrities and things were spoken about. Like, no wonder we all felt unworthy, right? And this is what I noticed, right, in my studio as a photographer, was that like every single person had the same thing going on. Like every single person seemed to have the same insecurities. This is actually cultural. This is actually our societal conditioning. And I was like, who is teaching us how to unlearn this? Who is teaching us that actually you're completely worthy, you're born worthy, you're created worthy? No one. So here I am. Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is, if you are listening to this right now and you feel like you are unworthy, you are undeserving, you are not good enough, you don't deserve love, I want to tell you right now that even though you may argue with me on this, you are 100% wrong. And this is not to invalidate how you feel, because for most of us, we have valid reasons for feeling that way. But it is not true, right? Just because it feels real, it is not true. You are 1,000% worthy. Simply, you would not exist if you weren't worthy. If there wasn't a reason for you to be on this planet, you wouldn't be here. So let's just start there, right? Now, I also want to share that almost my entire life, I was completely in this unworthy thing. And let's be honest, this is still something that as I continue to heal and grow and take on new challenges in my life, there are more layers to unpack, right? All the time, some random thought or belief will pop into my head. I'm like, what the heck? I had no idea that was lurking somewhere in my unconscious. But once we understand what's going on, right, and I really encourage you guys to go back and listen to other episodes where I go deep into the actual subconscious mind and how it works to understand this. But once we understand the role of the mind and how it works, we realize that it's completely neutral. Just because it feels real, just because it feels consuming, it is not. It's actually neutral, and it's up to us to assign meaning to things, right? Which means that, like, for many of us, we've assigned the meaning that we're not worthy because we were made to feel that way. But it's not real. Just because someone said something stupid or projected their own pain or wounds or insecurity onto us, that doesn't make it true. So this is where we get to really take our power back, right? And take charge of our lives again, because our subconscious mind is creating our life. So if we do not fix this and heal this, we will continue to create absolute crap for ourselves, right? Because here's the thing. The version of us that feels unworthy, unlovable, not good enough, how does that version of us treat themselves? How do they speak to themselves? How do they think? How do they move? What kind of goals do they have? What kind of crap do they tolerate from other people? What kind of relationships do they have? Because guaranteed, they're not good ones. Like, if you feel unworthy, if your dominant belief is, I am unworthy, I am not good enough, you're going to attract people into your life that validate that for you, right? That's just simply how it's going to work. Because remember, your mind is really clever at this process called generalize, distort, and delete, where it will literally filter your reality to bring you evidence of your belief, to make you right, okay? Because your mind is neutral, remember? So if you constantly focus on, I'm not worthy, it's like, oh, okay, cool. So this is the program that we're running, unworthy. So let's go out into the world and find evidence of that for you. And on the contrary, if you believe dominantly you are unworthy, you will literally filter out evidence of you being worthy, because you just simply don't believe that. So your mind will literally block it out because it doesn't fit within the model of your point of view. So, yeah, let's just reset, okay? And so I'm going to start with this question. And have you guys heard of this term called self-concept? There's a lot of people talking about this online now. And when I ask you, like, what is your self-concept? What I'm really asking you to reflect on is, how do you view yourself? Like, do you view yourself as someone who is loved and chosen and accepted and talented and special and important and abundant and a child of God who is loved beyond measure? Or is it something else? Because for most of us, it is something else, right? And let's be real, I learned this stuff the hard way, my friends. This is not something that came naturally. I mean, I had many, many dark moments, you could say, which we won't talk about on this particular episode, but I've been as low as you can go. So I understand what it is like to absolutely despise myself. I know that feeling so well, of just feeling so like broken, and like there must be something wrong with me, and that's why these things kept happening. And like that there must have been something in me that was just wrong and broken and not good enough, and that's why I kept attracting the same circumstances and horrible people over and over again, and all sorts of struggles. And when I started to understand how the mind worked and that it was simply my conditioning, then I realized, oh my God, I can actually forgive myself. I'm not a failure. It's just that I was taught all these things from things that happened to me that weren't even my fault, and I can now free myself and start being intentional about how I speak to myself, the things that I believe, and therefore change my entire reality, right? Because the unworthy version of me was not making podcasts, was not pursuing her dreams and building a business that helps people and going after everything she wanted. She was not doing that. She felt worthless. She was like, who would care? What I have to say doesn't matter, right? So this is why when we come back to our self-concept, as I always say, I want everyone to approach this with grace, because when we start being really self-aware and open and honest with ourselves, it can be extremely confronting. It can be extremely painful to admit things to ourselves that we previously haven't been willing to look at, and to take responsibility for, tolerating some horrible behavior, letting things happen to ourselves, or, stuff like this. Even though there was probably a part of us that knew better, we did it anyway, right? And that's because it was part of our unconscious programming until now. So I always say, self-love first, right? Forgiveness first. We have punished ourselves and beaten ourselves up and shamed ourselves for long enough. We do not need to do that anymore. It does not work. We have tried it. We have all tried it and been there, and it is not a good solution. Okay, so what is your self-concept? And I really encourage you guys to actually take some time to journal on this, right? So to start thinking about, what do you actually believe about yourself? And what do you believe about the world around you? So, for example, right, two of the biggest things that I really had to put in like a lot of work into in terms of shifting things in my own life was around love and money. Right now, interestingly, both of those things require a really strong self-concept, right? If you want love, you have to believe that you're worthy of it. You have to see your own value. You have to know that you're good enough, right? Same with money. You want to start a business and get paid, you better believe in yourself. You better know that what you do matters and that, you add value to people. And so these two areas of life were the biggest, most confronting aspects for me, where I had to be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't believe any of those things. I was like, I had this fear of abandonment. I had this fear of being alone. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't think I had enough value. I didn't feel attractive enough. I didn't feel successful enough. I had none of those things in my own head. There was nothing good, right? I felt all of these things. So guess what? I attracted losers, so many losers, so many people who treated me like garbage. And so then, of course, my mind, because I was still unconscious at this point, I had no idea what was going on. I'd have these losers come into my life and treat me really badly, and then I'd be like, see, here's more evidence. Obviously I'm not good enough, because here's someone else who left me. Here's someone else who treated me like crap. Or here's someone else who just behaved so badly that I had to leave, right? Which was interesting, because that was something that happened a lot, where this fear of abandonment was probably the deepest wound in me that I've ever had to reprogram, and one that brought me to my knees, like literally just sobbing on the floor, like, oh my God, multiple times over the years. But so fun times, keeping it real with you guys, yeah. But these things have to be shifted, because as long as I had a fear of abandonment, I also would brace myself for that, right? So even if someone didn't leave me, I would think they were going to. So I would leave them first. So you can see this tug of war that I had, where my conscious mind, the 5% of my mind, right, was like, I really desire a relationship. I really desire that. I think that'd be great. The 95% of me, the other part, said, okay, but hang on. Everyone leaves you. You're not good enough. You don't have enough to offer. You're always alone. It's not safe to be around men. Everyone's violent and abusive. So the subconscious part of my mind that is responsible for my safety did a great job at keeping me away from relationships. But at the same time, I was telling myself this story of, oh my God, see, it's because I'm not good enough. That was not true. Literally, there were so many aspects of me that did not feel safe and did not feel worthy, and so I simply pushed them away until I healed the stuff, right? So becoming aware of our self-concept, right? Like, do you feel worthy? What is your relationship like with yourself, with your body, with your money, with your friends and your family? Right? All these sorts of things. How do you feel about life and what you deserve? These are big questions, and they will absolutely change your life when you can allow yourself to sit with them, especially when you can do it in a way that's just simply observing what's there, going in with self-love and compassion, not, oh my God, it's my fault and I'm a failure and I should have done this and I should have been better at this and I should be further along in this area of my life. Nope, we don't do that anymore, okay? Because every single thing that's happened in your life has happened because at an unconscious level, your mind thought that was the safest thing. So, and I mean, even if like you had a track record like me of just having so many relationships that just never took off, it was because I didn't feel safe, right? It might be the same with you. You might have a business that you're really struggling with. Maybe there's a part of you that doesn't feel safe to be successful. Because there are things going on at an unconscious level, right, that are not your fault, but you're now able to shift them in order to create that feeling of safety so that you can then create the next level of the thing that you want, okay? So self-concept is a big, big, big thing. And in terms of knowing your worth, right, we want to start putting in good stuff. So how much time do you spend celebrating yourself, praising yourself, taking yourself on dates, buying yourself presents? And I mean, this does not have to be a big thing, right? One of my favorite things to do for myself that feels so like abundant and luxurious, candles. Honestly, scented candles are just my jam. Like if I have like little meditation nights or whatever in my bedroom and you put clean sheets on the bed and you burn some incense and you burn a scented candle, make yourself like a really nice drink, like I like lemon, honey and ginger. And then I'll put on some really beautiful meditation music and I'll just sit there and be present with myself and speak to myself and ask myself questions and check in with myself as if I am my own best friend, because plot twist, we are, right? Like, what do I need right now? Or things that I'm, celebrating things, or if I notice that it feels like there's some anxiety or tension in my body, I explore it. What's that about? If I need to process emotions, I will, right? But do you know what that does is that it starts to teach you that you matter, you have worth. You start prioritizing yourself. You start saying no to people when you want to say no, right? But this is the biggest thing, and this is what I learned as a photographer, was that we just all talk crap about ourselves 24/7 and then wonder why we don't feel good. And because we've been doing it for a really long time, and because everyone else around us does it, unless you're around me, because no one makes that mistake more than once, we don't do that. So, because remember, your subconscious mind is literal. It's listening to what you say, and then it's filtering your reality for it. Google it, generalize, distort, and delete. This is psychology. So it's not just a flippant throwaway remark when you go, oh, I always make mistakes, I always do that, I'm so stupid. Your mind is literally going to then go and start seeking out evidence of this for you. Because if that's a belief, which it probably is, right? If it's just like a one-off comment, no. But I'm talking about the things that you constantly think. I'm ugly, I'm unattractive, I'm not good enough, everyone leaves me, it never works out for me, I'm so broke. Like all these things, your mind is literally finding evidence of these things for you, okay? So what if you started, let's get really brave here. Ever tried mirror work? Ever looked yourself in the eye in the mirror and actually said some really beautiful things to yourself? Because guaranteed there are many, many beautiful things that you could celebrate about yourself right now. And if you're uncomfortable, that's showing you where the problem is, right? Because I bet you're way more comfortable criticizing yourself. But this is a muscle that we must learn to start exercising. This is the only way, right? We have to unlearn all this crap that we're taught and this tall poppy crap, because I'm not saying walk around thinking you're better than anyone else. What I'm saying is start to see what's actually there. Because the fact, if you don't feel worthy right now, you are not seeing what's actually there. Like, do you realize the chances of you being here are 1 in 400 trillion? You were chosen, you were created. No one else like you will ever exist, past, present, or future. Are you honestly going to sit here and argue with me that you're not worthy? No, you've just got faulty programming, and if you don't change it, you choose it, right? I say that with love, but there it is. All right. So, what do we do once we uncover all these things and these stories and beliefs? Well, obviously the first thing you do is you hire me to help you. Okay, but let's say that's not an option right now for you. What we're going to start doing is healing, right? So self-awareness is key. Self-awareness is everything. Because once you've made the unconscious conscious, you then have a choice. You have a choice to start challenging. You have a choice to start exploring. Where did that actually come from, that belief? And your subconscious mind is a genius, my friend. Remember that your subconscious mind has been present for every single moment of your entire life. Even things that you don't remember, your subconscious mind remembers. So when you start exploring these things, ask yourself this question. Where did you first learn that you were unworthy? What's the first thing that popped into your head? That's it. So you can actually go back to that moment in your mind and start to explore it. Did someone tell you? Was there a comment made from some kid at school or a teacher or something? Was that actually true, or was that their projection, their limitation? So why would you carry it with you for the rest of your life? You know, this is the process that you can start to do. When you have the courage first to become aware of what's actually going on, then you take that and you don't accept it anymore and you don't perpetuate it. You start to unravel it, change it, explore it, right? Now, this is something that I do with all my clients. So if you ever did want one-on-one support, these are things that I really help people do, is reframe and shift. And I have a lot of tools and resources that I help people with, like guided hypnotherapy and stuff like that people can listen to, because it goes in at the unconscious level, right, which makes it fast. But if you don't have access to these things right now, I would firstly suggest listen to so many of these episodes, because there's so much in here about how to heal and what to do. But also, just start with EFT. I think EFT is one of the greatest things that I've ever learned, right? It's called Emotional Freedom Technique. It's called tapping as well. And it may seem a little woo-woo if you haven't done it before, but I'm telling you, this thing is life-changing. So let's say that you become aware. Let's say you think, oh my gosh, I do not feel worthy. Let's talk about that as a belief. Go onto YouTube, type in tapping for not feeling worthy, and a bunch of videos will come up. They're all free. And literally what will happen is that you'll tap along with someone. So you tap along on your meridian point. So there are different energetic points, right? So there's one on the top of your head, one above your eyebrow, one under your eye, one on your collarbone. And someone will talk through a script, and they'll say things like, even though I don't feel worthy, and you'll tap along with them and you'll repeat back what they say, right? Sounds crazy, very powerful, and you will physically feel the shift so quickly. I do tapping almost every day because it's very powerful for nervous system regulation, right? So once you've had the courage to become aware of what's going on, you can actually clear out some of those emotions very, very quickly, right? Using tapping. So start there, okay? Because We have to heal these things at the root, right? If there are a lot of people that have this sort of toxic positivity approach, which honestly I could rant about that in an entire episode. But people say, don't say this about yourself. Just say that I love myself. Just say I am worthy. Okay, but if you don't feel worthy and you say I am worthy, you don't believe it. So what a waste of time, right? Now, repetition is key, yes. But what I would suggest too is flipping it and asking yourself questions like, in what ways am I worthy? Or why am I so worthy? Or what are the things that I've done that I can be so proud of? Right? Because when you're actually pulling on things that exist, it's a lot easier for you to believe, right? Because it exists. It's in front of you. You're not trying to convince yourself of something that you don't believe. But when you can start reflecting on things that you can be really proud of yourself for, things that you can celebrate about yourself. What have I done today that was really special? Oh my gosh, I made that lady's day at work. I'm really proud of myself for doing that. I'm really proud of myself for taking 2 minutes to text my friend and let them know how important they are to me. I'm such a good friend. Now, that does not make you up yourself, right? In fact, what that's doing is it's priming your mind to find more evidence. And you know what happens to people that believe in their worth and their value? They change the world. Because you then have the courage and the confidence that starts to overflow because you start showing up in the world differently, right? You start taking action. When you believe that you are worthy, you know what you do? You start pursuing your dreams. You start having really positive, healthy relationships with people. You start doing the things that you were afraid of because you now understand that you deserve it. And the universe is such a genius. The calling that's been put on you is purely for you. No one else on the planet can do what you are called to do the way that you can do it. But if you're holding yourself back with all this bullshit talk and unworthiness and all, I'm not good enough, that is simply not true. And we all miss out on the incredibleness and the magic that only you can bring to the world, right? So what happens is that the more that you pour into yourself, the more that you can truly start to see yourself for who you actually are, who you were born and created to be, the more you overflow. So the more you love yourself, the more you love the world. The more you look after yourself, the more impact you create for everyone around you. This is not a little thing. This is not a little thing at all, okay? Because as within, so without, remember, your beliefs literally reflect out into the world. Your mind is filtering the world to make you right. So this is your sign that draw a line in the sand right now. We're not going back. We're not doing that old stuff anymore. This is time now. It is time for you to start prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your relationship with yourself. That comes first. Pour into you, and everyone else around you benefits. And you're just going to feel so much happier because, let me remind you, you are so worthy of happiness, of abundance, of health, of love, of joy. You are chosen and created for this. You were put on this planet for a big reason. And it starts with you believing that you're worthy. So go forth and conquer, my friend. See you next week. And that is a wrap. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for being here. And please let me know your aha moments. I want to hear all about them. For extra support, make sure you're following me on TikTok and Instagram at @TheMonicaFerguson. Check out the School of Greatness for self-study courses. And of course, if you want one-on-one mentoring, just DM me and I would love to have a chat with you. Go and slay the day. Thank you for being you. See you soon.